Okay, thank you. Thank you, Stina.
Oh, okay, cool.
All right, let's get it. Before a wave crashes the shoreline, it has to become this giant thing. It is motion. There's a rising up from behind and below that overtakes the top and bursts across borders. Waves are something that you can't see until you see them. So there's just so much underground movement and motion and buildup and power and strength and energy that is coming through a wave. We are that wave.
The truth is, no one of us can be free until everybody is free. No one of us can be free until everybody is free.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Solidarity Index Inside Out episode.
Welcome. Let's go.
We're going to go deep with our amazing host, Zahyr Lauren, aka the Artist L.Haz, so we can learn more about their artwork, their heart work, and deconstruct the origin story of our first season and share our plans and visions for this podcast. Here's a little bit more about Zahyr, or the Artist L.Haz. They are a multimedia artist whose creative practice encompasses drawing and painting, textiles and fashion, wood, leather, metal, murals, and site-specific installations. They come from a powerful Southern Black matriarchy that migrated to California with nothing, then made something for generations to come. Zahyr's creations are a dedication to the resilience, brilliance, and beauty of their family, and to the shared humanity that has us all struggling and triumphing together. My name is Stina Hamlin.
Hi, Stina.
Hello. So I'm one of 4 co-creators, along with Shulva Wise, Jen Bell, and of course, you, Zahyr, our host. And I'm going to describe myself. So I have brown and gray curly hair. I have curly bangs. It's a trend. I hopped on that. I have olive skin, brown eyes, and I have these giant disc earrings.
Fly.
I wanted to inspire you to make your own version of these with your artwork.
So funny. I was talking about that last night. I've got a line coming.
Yay! Okay, well, I'm going to be rocking those for sure. And I'm joining you from Uptown Manhattan, also known as Lenapehoking, Lenape unceded territory. Just looking at the trees and the breeze and in my apartment.
Word. I am in Seattle, Washington, which is actually Duwamish territory. And if folks want to contribute to the Duwamish people, you can contribute to Real Rent Duwamish. I am a Black, gender-expansive human being who is currently wearing a black sweater with the homies logo on it. If you never heard of Nappy Nina, you're going to want to check out her music. Fly, fire. I'm also wearing glasses. People tell me these glasses look like the Malcolm X glasses.
I love the rent. I love all these land back movements, all the reparations for all the people. Let's talk about the Artist L.Haz.
The Artist L.Haz, the name is just my name backwards. So my name is Zahyr Lauren, and Lauren is the L. A lot of people call me Zah, so Haz is Zah backwards. And I got that idea mostly from, shout out to Oprah Winfrey, Harpo Studios is Oprah backwards. And The artist component of it comes from Prince, who was the artist formerly known as Prince. I love Prince so much, I have his symbol tattooed on my leg. Prince to me is the ultimate in I don't care what y'all are talking about around gender. I'm gonna wear what I want, do what I want, and still get more looks from the beautiful ladies of the world than those of you who hate my fashions ever will. And then his music, of course, is just remarkable. So the artist, formerly known as Prince, I am the artist. The artist is my identity. I think if anyone was asked to ask me really like, who are you? I am the artist L.Haz. That is, I'm living and breathing it in everything that I do. So that's where the name came from.
I love that. And sometimes people call you Z.
Zah.
So, and then your website is
Koro. Koro. Koro is my middle name. Koro rules the sun came from this idea that everyone who operates from sunup to sundown with their heart and minds on the people, whatever the people means, who operates with their minds on trying to produce and provide offerings to make human life better. To me, those are the people who rule the sun. And so Koro rules the sun is just me acknowledging that what I'm trying to do with my life and all of its imperfections is to continually think about the ways I can be an asset to humans in general, but Black people in specific. And wanting to share and extend and use my art to benefit all the people who are doing the same. You know, I've created work that is an offering of solidarity between Black and Mexican people. I've created pieces that are specific to the life and freedom of women of trans experience, especially Black women of trans experience, and their right to live, just live. Walk down the street, unbothered, point blank, right? So there's these pieces that have these different stories of them that are not limited to Black culture, but Black culture is always included because I am Black. And I rep I rep my people to the day I die.
nice. So Koro Rules the Sun, this piece that's on your landing page, it's so beautiful. This is the Black Wall Street piece?
Yeah, it's the Black Wall Street exoplanet.
It's amazing. So
Thank
for
you.
all of our listeners, Koro Rules the Sun. So it's Koro Rules the Sun .inc.
INK.
Yeah, INK, because you're going to be hopefully doing some tattoos soon.
Facts.
So everyone needs to like line up on that,
Facts.
sign up for that waiting list.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's a long list, I'm sure, so
Yeah.
far, for
Yeah.
real.
For sure. I can't wait.
Your story is so inspiring, dealing with the things that you dealt with in your previous career before you were a full-time artist and podcast host. Who are you, Zahyr?
Who am I? I would say the journey for me started very young. I've had two exceptional parents who always made us understand that even though we are under a microscope, because of our skin colors, we are just as good as the next human being. My mom used to always tell us, it doesn't matter if somebody is the janitor or the president, you treat everybody exactly the same. And as we grew up, we experienced more interactions, different kinds of violence at the hands of the police, my brothers and I. And there was one instance in particular that happened when I was 13 or 14 that involved a family member that really changed my life, because had anything gone slightly differently, we could have lost this person. And so after what happened to my family member, I really started to think, like, how can I get revenge? That was my first thought at 13. How can I get revenge on these coppers? And then as I began to develop, I began to study the Black Panther Party. I began to study different movements in the human story of this country. And what I noticed is that they were not about revenge, they were about elevating the community. They were about elevating their own communities, and they were about protection, knowledge, political discourse, being involved, advancing us. And so, although I still had this deep wound in my spirit because of what happened to my family member, I started to try and lead with that. When I graduated from college, I was asked to be a union organizer in Biloxi and Tunica, Mississippi. So then I was exposed to Black folks who were still picking cotton. And this is in like 2009, 2010. I was exposed to Black and Latinx folks who work in the back of these different casinos who essentially had no rights. And these are the people that I was working with to organize. The amount that I learned from the Black elders in Mississippi, the way that they build community, the way they organize, the way they have stepped into their power, the way they lead. One of the dopest things for me in Mississippi was watching that, and also like just being this young kid that they never used my name. They just called me California. So I would hear one of the aunties from across the room. She'd be like, "Hey, California, get over here." Like, but that was also the first time I had seen cotton fields in person. And I'm Black, but I'm from California. So my lineage, we're descendants of formerly enslaved, but I had never seen that. And so I remember that vibration driving through this cotton field. I stopped my car, went into the cotton fields, and called all my family members. Just because of the vibe of it was so raw and like wild for me. And so after being a union organizer, I ended up working at the Southern Center for Human Rights, which is in Georgia. And so there I did impact litigation and worked on a defense side capital murder case. The country is caged in conditions created by really racialized capitalism, and that plagues mostly working class and poor people. So you see Black people, Indigenous people, Latinx, AE folks who are affected by poverty, sickness, mental health, etc. That's a lot of who you see in the cages. Obviously, you do see poor white folks as well, but they're not the racialized targets of systemic oppression. And they're caged at percentages far less than Black, Latinx, and Indigenous people. So instead of investing in healing, access, economic freedom, and community-led safety initiatives, we cage and criminalize. But the real barbarians are generally outside of the gates. So then I thought, well, after that job, I think that I should go the attorney route because that's the next layer of discovery and what it means for this system to keep running. So then I worked in New York as a lot of different things. A policy advocate. I worked with young folks who were going in on gun charges. I worked to coach parents who were coming up for parole. I did a lot of different things. I was a mitigation specialist, and I worked on some class action stuff for Lambda Legal as well as their Tyrone Garner Fellow. And again, witnessing. So all of this for me has been about witnessing the ways in which this country intentionally puts us in these positions to be swept into the system. In my being an attorney and investigator, both times I experienced a bodily issue that signified that my body was shutting down. So after I did a little over 3 years as an investigator, my hair fell out, like completely, like a baby, like a patch in the back of my head. The second time it happened was as I was leaving my legal profession. I lost my ability to walk completely. My whole right leg just completely shut down. And that's when I was like, this is something that I can't keep doing because I can't maintain it physically. And the physical elements were coming because of the stress and the trauma that I was experiencing on the job. I just want to be clear. The trauma that I was experiencing in the cages and working with folks who are coming in and leaving the cages is second-hand trauma. I wasn't even in the cage. I didn't have to stay there. But my brain is replaying the sound of people's shackles as they're being taken back into this torture chamber. My brain is replaying how have seen people who had just had their heads beat open and having to interview them about what the guards did to them. My brain is replaying meeting a brother who had his hearing beat out of his ear because a female guard liked him and the male guards didn't like that she liked him. So they took him out into the hallway, handcuffed, and beat him until he lost his hearing.
Damn.
Which is why I'm saying the barbarians are outside the gates. The stress of that is why my body shut down, and I didn't have any outlets at the time. So, I became an artist because I recognized the ways that doodling took my mind off of this stuff. It was a stress reliever to the point where I did it obsessively and have been doing it obsessively now this is my 7th year.
Wow. How did you start to walk again?
Yeah. So I couldn't walk for like 4 or 5 days, something like that. Every time I stepped on my leg, it was like excruciating pain. And so what happened was I ended up going to acupuncture I think I went to acupuncture for like 3 months after that with the help of a cane and the help of someone else coming with me. And the acupuncturist, he was like, whatever you're doing, your whole system is like 80 plus years old. Like whatever you're doing, stop it. Because your circulation is not working. And
how old were you?
I was 29 years old with a cane, walking with a cane for months. And so, in the practice of doing the art, I just took more and more time. I would do like 2 or 3 hours before work and like 4 or 5 after work of drawing every single night. My first show in Brooklyn was the culmination of my first 2 years of drawing. And I showed, I think, a little over 40 pieces, something like that, because I was doing it obsessively. I had to. Like, that's the only way my brain would, like, relax. Because I'm Black, the work is specific to Black folks and trying to draw into the art some type of healing, an acknowledgement of how regal we are, an acknowledgement of what we've contributed to society. So in a sense, I'm trying to bring to life the opposite of what we're living a lot of the times. I'm trying to bring to life a reflection of our potential and our capabilities if we were just left alone. I'm trying to bring to life a part of us as Black people that is untouchable, unassailable, like it's protected. It's Black Wall Street. It's all the cities and towns in the US that were flourishing before the Red Summer. It's all the cities and towns that were flourishing before they were flooded. It's all the ways in which if we had just been left alone, we would be flourishing. That's what the art is trying to reflect.
I can see that. If I am trying to like sonically describe how your work visually looks, there's lots of lines and patterns and beautiful colors. It's very multi-dimensional. And it seems like some of them carry multiple stories, like stories upon stories and feelings upon feelings. How do you even start? How do you begin?
So a lot of people think there's like a plan for every piece, there's some type of blueprint or pre-sketch, but I don't plan anything. I don't do no pre-sketching, no digital work. My mandate for every piece is that I learn and use a new tool. So maybe I learned a new watercolor technique. Maybe I learned something about perspective. I'm completely self-taught. So my school is every piece. So I listen to creator, I listen to the universe, I listen to life in that moment, and I teach myself something new for every piece. I think a good story on top of story piece is probably the turtle piece that I have. The positive of that piece was attempting to draw a turtle for my god baby, who was like 3 at the time and in love with turtles. And I found out a month into that piece that Ahmaud Arbery had been murdered by a group of what I call white delusionists who hunted him and killed him. And then I found out a few days after that, I feel like, that another group of white delusionists clad in police uniforms murdered Breonna Taylor. And so then the diamonds in that piece that flanked the turtle all became odes and names of Black women and girls in this country who have been murdered by the police. The turtle is floating kind of above the world. And so to me, it's kind of like a meditation on, again, what if we were free? What if we were able to float above all this? What if we were just able to go about our business? What if we were able to go on a jog? Like, like, yeah, what if we were able to sleep in our own homes? This is, it's like revolutionary thoughts about us just being not bothered. I was also thinking about Ahed Tamimi and her family. It's a Palestinian family who, at the time, was acting in response to Israeli soldiers. So Ahed's cousin threw a rock at these soldiers, and in a response, they shot him in the head with a rubber bullet. Ahed, I think, was imprisoned for hitting a soldier with her hand or something. And in response, of course, they shipped her off to be incarcerated. And, these are kids responding to soldiers completely destroying everything they know. And the Israeli military, of course, is very reflective of the domestic military in the US. There's training back and forth between the domestic military, otherwise known as the police here, and the Israeli military. And so the piece also was lifting up this idea that Black people and our Palestinian family members have common oppressions. They're not the same, but they are parallel. And so I think the story on story just comes from the time that it takes me to create a piece, which is months because of the detail in it. Sometimes it takes me years. It took me 4 years to finish Black Wall Street because everything is done by hand and it is extremely detailed. And so in those months or years, if I'm paying attention, these things are happening in the lives of so many different cultures and so many different people. And so the turtle piece is an amalgamation of all of those things and kind of trying to keep my sanity, trying to keep the names of folks who have been murdered alive, and making sure that I'm always remembering what's going on here.
I hear you. In what you're just talking about, too, I mean, I think that just seemed to kind of lead a lot to solidarity. And in our podcast, that's what we talk about a lot. And you always bring up solidarity is love and coming from a place of love, which I find that to be so beautiful because, like when you're rolling through this life, it's either love or fear, right? It's like, am I acting in love or am I acting in fear? Where am I coming from right now? the big notion of this solidarity in the activism movements, and it sounds like this giant, this big thing. It is just like a practice, or like there's small moments of solidarity that you can have just, in your daily life. That is solidarity, is love for other peoples.
Yeah. If we're being real and you're coming from a place of love, I feel like you can only claim to love someone if you care about the truth of their life and their lived experience. Love is an action. Who are you witnessing to? Who are you ministering to? Who are you educating so that those 10 people that you know and you thought were just fine aren't the ones calling the police on me? What are you doing? How are you showing love? What is the truth that you're understanding and beginning to learn that is allowing you to operate a certain way? And we're in a time where you didn't know is not a thing. There's White Rage by Carol Anderson, The New Jim Crow, Michelle Alexander. I mean, I could go on and on. 1619 by Nicole Hannah-Jones. There's way too much information.
Yeah.
Cast, Isabel Wilkerson.
Do the work.
Do the work. And doing the work is love. But the foundation of that is all that we're all the same human. Same blood, one people. Man, I originally came up with the name the Solidarity Index because I realized that my entire life was about witnessing solidarity between humans. Just like regular, extraordinary people in my personal atmosphere. I'm seeing actionable love across borders and between races, genders, ability levels, and socioeconomic status. People are standing by each other for the betterment of the earth and for humanity. So I just kept wondering, like, why is it that what unites us is less publicized than what divides us? What if we had an index of people who are acting in solidarity in their everyday lives, in their interpersonal relationships, and on the front lines? What if we could see our own struggles as tied to those of the person sitting next to us? What if we had an index of examples of all the ways solidarity could manifest? What if we had an index that could grow infinitely and that everybody had access to? So when my nieces are 12 and 13, they could run through this list of people that they could reach out to. I wanted everybody to see and know my loved ones who are practicing love in action right here, right now, in the ways they know how. So that was my dream at the time because I'm surrounded by solidarity and people who are using love in action to elevate solidarity in practice.
The solidarity, we're talking about the interconnectedness, we're talking about, the fabric, we're talking about the intersectionality of all of the ways that you can be in solidarity with other humans and non-human relatives, right? So in our podcast, we have this transitional sound, which is so beautiful to me. And we usually start off each episode with the sound of this wave crashing. There's a real energy and feeling behind it. So yeah, can you share more about that?
Before a wave crashes the shoreline, it has to become this giant thing. It is motion, right? There's a rising up from behind and below that overtakes the top and bursts across borders. Waves are something that you can't see until you see them. So there's just so much underground movement and motion and buildup and power and strength and energy that is coming through a wave, particularly when it crashes. And when it crashes, of course, what happens is then it disperses. It goes everywhere. It becomes a million parts of something that once looked like a whole. It clarifies. It washes over. There are all these ways that it moves through time and space. When you talk about movements and the collective of individuals that it takes to move forward in a movement, and the waves are kind of a representation of us collectively. And by us, I don't just mean anyone involved in the Solidarity Index. I mean everyone who is a part of the wave towards freedom, human dignity, bodily autonomy, prison abolition, sustainability of the earth. I think of the young people, the Sunrise Movement, and how hard they're working to make sure we have an earth in 30 years. That's the wave. And the wave, when it breaks open, and even in its breaking open, it still represents an offering for more to join. When that water goes back into the sea, it represents an offering. It represents a collecting of whatever it has broken open onto to come back into the water and be a part of that underground building to create the whole.
I love that sound. Yeah, I'm just loving like how we are using it too in the episode. It's like, hey, come and join in this reciprocal vibe and gathering, and just that act alone of this conversation is powerful.
Yeah.
It feels good, you know?
Yeah. I love the joining, and I also love this idea that there are so many people that we are joining, because the wave is so huge, and the Solidarity Index is an index of people that this podcast can reach with the few tentacles that we have, right? It is a knowing and an understanding that there's so many folks, people who work at the bakery who make sure, folks get fed at the end of the night. Our sanitation workers that might go into this neighborhood over here where the government is neglecting, but they make sure it gets picked up anyway. The teachers who are putting in work, even in states that are banning our human story, to still teach it. Like, there's so many people who are doing so many different things, who are standing in solidarity in so many different ways, that I'll never know their names, we'll never talk to. And so this is us talking to the people that we end up having access to, and also trying to somehow be in community with all the folks who we don't know yet, and who we hope to know. It's an offering. It's just an offering. It is, I love that what we're trying to do is to offer something in honor of knowing that we're only a little part of that wave that exists. We're only a little part of that underwater power that is simmering. The last thing that I would say is I've read Angela Davis's book, Freedom is a Constant Struggle, Ferguson, Palestine, and the Foundations of a Movement, a few times now. And she really asked the question of how we bring various social justice struggles together across national borders. This is also something that Malcolm X talked about a lot. How do we talk about the militarization of policing in Ferguson, Palestine, and Brazil? So, Angela Davis really speaks to the mandate that in order to organize, we got to develop strategies that allow people to identify with a particular issue as their issue. It can't just be something over there. So we got to help people understand that their issue has parallels and structural connections to other questions of justice around the world. So the Solidarity Index, the hope is that in interviewing global citizens from around the world, we can create a sense that we're all related, that we share parallel struggles, that those struggles are being addressed in creative ways, and that all of those struggles affect us in some way. At this point in our lives on the planet, the life of the planet really depends on us acting in solidarity against oppression around the world. The way we treat our human resources is the way we treat the resources and offerings of the planet. And what I mean about that is, if you look inside the cages of this country and the way we're treating our people, the way we're farming our people, the way we are destroying that resource and harming that resource, that's the same thing we're doing with the earth, with the water, with the air. What I feel and what I know is that the truth will inform the love, and the love must inform the action.
Love that. In the words of Zahyr Lauren, word.
Word, my G.
Word, my G.
truth is, no one of us can be free until everybody is free. No one of us can be free until everybody is free, free, free.
Thank you for listening to the Solidarity Index. Reminder to check out our show notes for links.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I knew you were going to do that. Okay. Well, I'm trying to be professional.
You are very professional.
I'm channeling your host vibes.
No one of us
Okay.
can be free
Take two.
until everybody is free, free, free.
Thank you for listening to the Solidarity Index Inside Out episode. Reminder to check out our show notes for links and information on the people and topics we touched on today.
If you like this episode, please share it with your friends and family.
And tell us what you think. Tag us on Instagram at The Solidarity Index or send us a message through our website, thesolidaryindex.com. We'd love to hear your feedback.
We'd also be so grateful if you took a minute to rate and review the Solidarity Index on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other podcast app you use. Your ratings and reviews play a crucial role in boosting our visibility and helping new listeners to follow us.
Music provided by Nagamo, an indigenous music library. Songs featured Money Menace by Justin DeLorme and Determination by Justin DeLorme and Chippewa Travelers. This podcast is a production of State of Mind Media, created and produced by Jen Bell, Shulva Wise, Zahyr Lauren, and me, Stina Hamlin. Audio editing and production by me, Stina Hamlin. Audio mix by Matt Gundy.
Logo and identity design by Marwan Kabor. Art direction, website, and additional design by Jen Bell at Studio Analogy. Our theme song, Until Everybody is Free by Bella Cuts, is out everywhere you listen to music. All proceeds from streaming and downloads go to the Dr. Maya Angelou Foundation.
I'm one of the producers and host of this Inside Out episode, Stina Hamlin.
And I'm your host, Zahyr Lauren, aka the Artist L.Haz. Appreciate y'all for listening. Peace.
The truth is, no one of us can be free until everybody is free. No one of us can be free until everybody is free.